Hello everyone and welcome back to UAS3 training. In this chapter we'll talk about 3 new features recently added to UAS3. First of them is Asset Condition Report. As we all know, reporting is extremely important part of our work. It's actually the moment when all our work meets its purpose. That is the moment when the message needs to be conveyed to all stakeholders: management, decision makers, reliability team, maintenance team, operations, and also our condition monitoring colleagues. That message needs to be clear, simple, and easily understandable in all languages. What needs to be done, what is the condition, what is the situation right now, development of that condition. All that needs to be clearly stated in the report, backed up with all necessary data. So to make it easier for you to create these reports and use this feature in UAS3, let's make one report together step by step and see how it works. In my database that I will use today, I decided to report mill and conveyor drive, 2 positions, 2 assets. So all of the assets contain huge history, several years of history of data. So obviously I will not put all time waveforms and all spectra in my report. So before I start building report, which we will do here, asset condition, first I will choose all the graphs I want to be that I want to be included in my report. So first I will definitely add static trend. So this is static trend of all my data. I can choose only one part, and the part I choose when I zoom in will actually be displayed in report. To add graph in report, simply press Add to Report button. All our graphs are now equipped with this button. So by pressing Add to Report, this graph is now added to report that I will be building in several minutes. There is a small icon, a paperclip, that indicates that in this measurement point you have graphs that are added to report. Next, I will definitely choose my time waveforms. This is something I want to show. And I want to show them in the same scale, all of them. So I will put my scale at 800. And add it to report. Also, I will add spectrum. Same thing, I will add it to report. Now I will go back and show the newer one, the one that really bothers me. It's in the same scale like a previous one. And just to show you the possibility, you can zoom it in, you can add your cursors. Whatever you are doing during your job in the signal analysis, add your cursors. You can add also other cursors like delta. You can add comment, whatever the comment will be. At this point, and add to report in exactly this condition. Same thing I will do with my spectrum here. And I will put my cursors also and add to report. So now I added all graphs from this position to my report. Now I want to report drive end side of the electrical motor number 1 in conveyor drive. I will do the same thing. This one is under lubrication program as well. So I will add my static trend to report. I will add my time waveform before lubrication. I will add it to report. I will add also the one after lubrication, of course in the same scale, because then it really visually makes sense to show it to everyone. Add it to report. Also, I want to add my graphs concerning my lubrication activity, and I will add my process statistics as well. So basically right now I added all graphs I want to have in my report, and now it's time for me to start building my report. So to build asset condition report, click on Reports in the top menu and Asset Condition. Your Asset Condition Report menu will open, and here you can choose what you want to report. In this particular case, as I told you, I will not report my compressor room, I will not report my cooling section, I will not report electrical motor number 2. I want to report electrical motor number 1, both drive end side and non-drive end side, and I want to report my mill bearing drive end. You can see that automatically all the parent nodes are checked, because there is a consequential relationship between them, so I definitely want all of them to be included. Before I start building the report itself, let's go to main settings, and these main settings allow you to put the company name, asset owner, inspector name, inspector certification number, and location where the report is issued. In this case, it's SDT team. Asset owner is CEM, somebody is an inspector name, his certification and location. Of course, I can add company logo, the company who is issuing the report. That can be the same company if it's an in-house team, and asset owner logo. Save and close, and your main data for the report are added to report. Now it's time for me to add some facts, something I want, the message I want to convey. So in this particular case, for the database root, in this case the process, I want to add all necessary data. So criticality of this process is high. As a description, I will just to be fast, I will just copy paste it here. Primary stage of processing, embalming, transporting material, so all the necessary data is here. Within a condition, I will again make my message very simple and very clear. Just let me put it in the right place. Condition not acceptable for continuous operation. Now, what is the situation right now? Again, I will add my conclusion here, everything I want to report. Then, of course, my recommendation is going to be here. And certain comments, again, I will put them here. So now my message is here. What you have opportunity to put in is criticality of the asset, description of the asset, current condition, situation, recommendation that you are sending to other stakeholders, and comments. Of course, you can then select the image or use navigation picture that is already embedded in your UAS3. In this case, I selected this image. And from that point, we can move to mill. I already put everything inside just to save some time here. And criticality is high. It's a ball mill, not acceptable for continuous operation, critical. This is the situation. This is my recommendation and comments in regard to everything we did. Same thing, I will go down to the level of the mill bearing drive end, so to the non-repairable item. It's an advanced damage on inner race. This is my recommendation and my comments. Alarm status is declared here, and we can move to the next one. Conveyor drive, criticality, description, condition, situation, recommendation, and comments. In this case, it's included in lubrication program as well. So the lubrication alarm status is also added to report. Then we will go down to electrical motor, the same situation. In description, in this case, I put more technical data about understanding what kind of motor is in question. Then we can go to non-drive end side, where everything is perfectly well. I also put some comments that I might find relevant for the people who will be reading my report. And the same thing for drive end side, where there is a suspicion on possible damage, not confirmed yet, but it's there and it needs to be reported. Once I finish all this, All I need to do is click View Report. The report will be generated, as you can see here, and this is how your report looks like. So the first page is, of course, report summary, who is inspector, asset owner, and here is the SDT as author of the UAS3. And then in all following pages, this is what really matters. So we see that message is quite clear. Everyone who is reading this report knows that there is a problem and urgent attention is obviously needed. After that, we go to one by one asset. First page is explaining the current condition. In this case, mill. The next one, the measurement point, mill bearing drive end. Location in your database is under database root CEM, mill bearing drive end. The status of the alarm is danger, and situation is explained in a text below. And after that, I have all the measurements. All the measurement details means that if I need to explain my decision, that will be in the following pages. So for RS1T sensor, interval is 2 days, acquisition time 30 seconds, sampling rate 8 kilosamples per second. Alarm status also for alarms. The thresholds are clearly declared. So all the data that needs to be in report is in the report. Now we come to everything I added to report because I wanted to have my static trend there. I wanted to have my time waveform with all the necessary cursors clearly displayed. Same with time waveform. As you can see, they go sequentially. So there is this one is 1322. The spectrum is equally 1322. So this is corresponding spectrum. The same thing with one done 1 month before and the corresponding spectrum. And all the static data is here. All the static data is displaying alarm level, date and time, RMS max, RMS peak, and crest factor, all 4 condition indicators, sensor serial number, device serial number, and operating who collected the data. Same thing for all the measurement settings in this measurement point. Then we go to conveyor drive, where we have alarm status and lubrication alarm status with all the text we set in our report settings. Motor, and then we go down to the non-drive end side, which is obviously everything perfectly okay, with all the necessary measurement here, with the loop consumption as well, including all the necessary setting data, interval, acquisition time, sampling rate, type of the bearing. And from that point we go to the last one, which is a drive end side. Alarm is normal, suspected bearing failure as a lubrication alarm status, with all the text we set inside. So this is my report in report viewer, and here is all the data I added. And my report is done, ending with all the details that you set up about certification, UAS3 serial number and license. Once my report is finished, I can print it directly, as you can see here, or I can export it, and I can export it as a PDF file. So let's put it report 1. It will be generated and immediately displayed. Just give him a few seconds to create it. Okay. So you can see my report is here. Everything we entered in our report, starting with page 1, very important, general condition, and then down to all details that we set up, including all graphs. And as you can see here, and it's very important, everything is displayed exactly in the way you set it in your UAS3, including cursors, including all details, all the numeric descriptions, which is quite important when you have to explain in your report what led you to this conclusion. Of course, you can export your report as a Word format. Maybe you want to edit something, you want to change something, so that's another possibility you have. And very important also to know is that nothing will be changed if you change a tree structure or folder. The details in your report that you set up will not be changed. Simply because next time when you make a report, maybe most of the data will still be the same. You will just update some of the data. So it will stay here, it will not be deleted. What will be deleted is are all the graphs that you added to report. They will be removed, and next time you create a new report, you will probably decide to add some other graphs to report. Working with reports is quite simple and quite fast. We try to do as much as possible to make this job comfortable and easy to you. So from this point, let's move to our next feature that was recently added to UAS3, and that is batch setting of acquisition time. So normally, if you want to set acquisition time, you have to go inside the measurement point and set acquisition time for each of them individually. But sometimes there are situations when you need to change acquisition time on more of the assets. So for instance, in this case on compressor 2, I will click on acquisition time, settings, acquisition time, and I will choose my sensor. Let's stay with RS1T sensor, and as I can see, my current acquisition time on all measurement within compressor 2 is 5 seconds. For any reasons, I want to increase this measurement time on 8 seconds, and I can do it for entire compressor. I want to go a little bit deeper. I want to understand what happened during the process. Practically, I can do 20 seconds. I want to see if there is any change when the load changes. So I will set my acquisition time. So next step is to click on set acquisition time. And as you can see, acquisition time on all points is now changed. Of course, you can deselect some of them individually if you want. So you will choose all the sensor except, for instance, on the non-driven side of the motor or any other of them. So this is the possibility that it's open to you. The same thing you can do with all other sensors. Same here. I can set it to 20 seconds or any other time. I can say 10 seconds and it will be changed to 10 seconds. Now it's changed in all measurement settings. So it's much faster, it's much more comfortable, and it's much more efficient. The last improvement that we did was about login users. We added another profile, and that profile is remote team. You will know that you can set admin, you can set a user who can only read data, you can set user who can read and write, but there is one user between read only and read and write, and that is remote team. Because read only profile does not allow you to make a backup. You can only look at the data, you can do absolutely nothing. Still, very often we have situations when the remote team is in the field for some time with no internet connection, so he can connect his UAS3 to central database. So they just need to do the job and send the backup. In this case, we can call it H. So set up username, login, password, and confirm password, and set it as a remote team. This user now will be able to read data, download and upload from instrument and to instrument, and he will be able to make backups. He will not be able to change settings, he will not be able to change alarms, measurement time, sensors, or anything else in a database, but he will be able to completely do the job, create a backup, and send the backup to headquarters. As you can see, it's added and it's checked. It's active and it's his remote team. He cannot write, but he can create backup and send backup. So I hope this video training was useful to you. Those are 3 of new features that we're very proud of, and if you have any questions, contact anyone in our team. Thank you so much.